Good morning, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Dijamco, the MultiDimensional MD. My mission is to help wake up medicine and bring spirit back because it was never meant to be separated in the first place. Today, I'm going to talk about what to do when it's quiet. Because I woke up this morning and usually I plan things in advance, but I didn't really know what to talk about. And I was wondering, I was like, why is it so quiet? Like, why do I feel like I don't know what to say? And I kind of sat with that idea for a bit and just kind of like turned inwards to look at it because I was like, what is uncomfortable about this? And then I realized I was like, oh, because I feel quiet. When things are quiet, you get to see yourself more clearly. You get to see what you're going through. So when there's a storm and the dust settles, I talk about being in the eye of the storm, but then also after the storm, when the dust settles, what happens? Like you still have to deal with whatever's left over, the debris, whatever leftover emotions there may be. That maybe during the intensity of the time that you weren't able to deal with before. So as many of you know, that my dad passed suddenly the end of January. So it's been over 40 days now, about 7 weeks now. And so that's what I'm feeling. It's this quiet, it's this calm after the storm. So I wanted to come here today to continue to share my process, actually, as I'm going through with it, which on the one hand is a very vulnerable process because I'm not yet through. I'm literally going through this. But I thought that it would be even more authentic because once something passes, it's of course, it's much easier to talk about. But as you're going through it, there's a rawness and an authenticity to it. And so I wanted to share that with you. And I want to embrace this opportunity as like another really precious moment that once it's passed, it's passed. And so to be able to be with every moment, no matter what you're going through. I had thought like earlier, I was like, maybe I'll just show another video that I've recorded before today. And then one of my kids actually called me out on it. She was like, Mommy, you've already shown that. And that was part of another project. She's like, why would you do that? And so I had to sit and like think about like, why would I do that? I was like, well, it's okay to take a break sometimes, but I was like, no, you know what? I still want to show up. And I want to show up as myself and whatever I'm going through. It helps me, and hopefully it helps somebody that's watching. So, the quiet has as I was talking about, has its own set of challenges. So after my dad died, of course, it's so much busyness. There's a whole to-do list. There's a never-ending to-do list. And it's not just even when big things like that happen. We can have all that busyness in our regular lives. There isn't always a never-ending to-do list. You still have to get up and eat and feed the kids and get things done, pay the bills. So it keeps going in a way. And you can kind of lose yourself in that busyness. So I want to break down into 4 different components of what I do when it's quiet, or what I'm doing right now, and the steps that I went through as I realized this quiet time. And it's quiet just like I feel quiet, and it's also quiet in terms of spirit. Like I'm going to talk about a little bit more about that. So the first thing when it's quiet is to rest, right? Of course, I felt like really just after a number of weeks, just like really flattened by just the pure energy that it takes to go through an intense time. And that's okay. So being able to realize that for yourself and to take extra time. I had kind of cocooned myself and not really talking to a lot of people. I'm still seeing patients in my practice, but I haven't really been socializing much and talking to a lot of people. And so that was my way to rest and to take care of myself and to hopefully catch up on sleep, to start to re-nourish myself with healthier foods and making healthy food choices, to take some time with my family and spend some time with just like some quality dinners and meals or any little moments together, because it doesn't have to be a big thing. It's those little moments to really cherish, and it's part of the quiet. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's just is. So cherishing those times together. So however you need, when you feel quiet, that's the universe saying to you to rest. Take time for yourself. It's okay. There's these ups and downs with life, and sometimes it's really busy and you have to go, go, go. And then there's times of rest where we need to recuperate. And it's like the seasons and the weather. So in the winter, things get quieter, and in the spring, things start to grow and blossom, and then they flourish through the summer and fruitful through, the harvest of the fall, and then again back to resting. So I like to think about that, to cocoon, to rest, and really take that time to nourish yourself. Number 2 is to also, in that rest time, to sit and reflect. And what does that mean? Well, I remember at one moment I was sad, of course, and kind of tearful. And my little one, my 7-year-old, she said, "Mommy, what is it?" And I was like, "Well, I'm sad. I miss Lolo." That's grandfather in Tagalog. And she said, it was really curious what she said, because it's like she wanted a little bit more detail. She wanted to tease it apart a bit. And it was so much presence and awareness that she was giving me. She said, "What exactly are you sad about?" And I had said some things I miss. And she was like, "Well, I was missing him." And she's like, and what exactly do you miss?" So it was an interesting question, right? She's like, "What exactly are you sad about? And what exactly do you miss?" And such an innocent question. And I'm sure she could have come up with things herself, but she wanted to hear from me. So she wanted a bit more detail. And I thought that was a beautiful way to acknowledge and to flush out those whispers and feelings of the heart that maybe you could gloss over and just be, "Oh, I'm just sad of so many things, and it hurts too much." But by asking those questions, she was going inward, helping me go inward too, to see, why are you sad, and what do you miss? I mean, you could be flippant about it and say, like, "Well, why wouldn't I be sad?" But no, there is a way to tease it apart, because you could have had arguments with somebody in your life, with a loved one, and it's not the first thing you think about. You're like, "Oh, I miss the arguments." No, you go to the things where you felt just so connected and loved, and you love each other, and you remember those things. And so in doing that, it brings awareness to the love, the part that part in spirit where, why do you love somebody? And that's the reason why you're sad and why you miss. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I thought that was a great way to sit and reflect, and with the help of a little Zen master, that's what our kids are, when they ask those questions, and to help go through the waves of emotions. Because, for her witnessing me, it's like I could be fine one moment, and all of a sudden this wave of emotion comes over, and she wanted to understand it more and know what that was. So I thought that was really beautiful. To consider science of spirit, and consider the law of conservation. I wrote it, I have a misspelling there. That's really funny. Conservation of energy. But I wrote it there, conversation of energy, which is kind of neat. So to sit with this idea that energy is the law of science, energy is neither created or destroyed. And what are we? We are pure energy. And so the spirit is pure energy. And to like contemplate, just like, consider that. It's like, wait, the spirit is never destroyed. So what does that mean? Well, that something continues. And, even though we're sad about this death of a sort, there's a huge transformation there. And that's miraculous and amazing. And to really consider that. And for me, there's some things that come more easily in terms of like connecting with spirit. So I can feel very connected with my dad, even after he's crossed over. But then also still be with that sadness of the human experience. But when you really consider that, that the spirit can continue, or it does continue, I don't know, that's very comforting for me. And it brings a joyfulness to the sadness, because you realize this is a transformation, and in a way there's not a loss, and in a way you're still connected. And even though we don't have a total understanding, it's like diving into that miracle of it. And it's okay not to understand it all, but to consider it, because that consideration can be like a big warm hug, and to know that you've lost, but you haven't lost. So isn't that a really neat thing? And I feel like, every religion in the world has something to say about that. And for me, spirit, I don't equate spirit necessarily with religion per se, because it's even kind of transcends all of that, because religion is a man-made thing. And I love everyone, no matter what religion they are or whether they have a religion, because we are pure spirit. And so that's regardless of what your practice is, or what you believe even. So that's why I just say to consider, because a consideration is a warm embrace. And this is science meets spirit. So isn't that neat? Miracles are really just things that we don't completely understand yet through science. So the fourth thing I wanted to talk about are a couple options. So sometimes I did a post on this, that spirit is sometimes quieter. And I do feel always connected with spirit, but I do also find that sometimes it's quieter. So I talked about my experience with my dad. Had crossed over before, and I felt very connected with spirit then, and I continue to. But then after, like towards the end of maybe around like 5-6 weeks, things started to feel quieter. It still felt connected, but it was quieter. So there are two things that I kind of go through. There are options, and don't have to be exclusive of each other. But when spirit is quieter, there's the option of also getting quieter ourselves. And that's the rest and the sit and the contemplate part, because it is difficult to hear or feel connected with spirit when there's so much chitter chatter in our heads, and the minds are keep going and that looping. So to be able to hear and listen, to feel connected, sometimes we have to get more quiet. It doesn't mean that you're not connected. It just means that you can't see it or hear it as easily because we're so distracted. And that's easy to do and happen. I've talked about this before, and especially when things are really intense, you're easily distracted and easily feel like you can't hear or your guidance and what's coming through the universe, the divine, through spirit. So one is to consider getting quieter so that you can hear. And if you look at my other videos, like processing sadness, that's a way to get quieter too. And the other part is to trust you can take the test. Test is a little bit maybe too big of a word. It's more like a level on a game. So maybe to trust that you have learned a thing or two in your life experience and through spirit, that you can take some steps seemingly on your own, but not really on your own. It's like when you're a toddler or a baby, you're learning to walk for the first time. First, holding on. And then at some moment, you take those steps by yourself. But you're not by yourself because your parents are watching, or you're doing this for your kid. They're not by themselves. You're not going to let them hurt themselves, or you try your best. But they want to walk and they want to see what they can do on their own. And the same thing, like if you learn to ride a bike without training wheels, you want to see what you can do. And you may stumble, you may fall, and it's part of the process. And so when spirit feels quiet, it's not that you're alone. You're being witnessed and watched without being disturbed, because it's like, let's see what you can do on your own, but not on your own. We're here watching you, and it's time to let go of this, of like holding on, to see what you can do. And that's part of the fun, right? Sometimes it doesn't feel like fun at first, because you feel, oh, but I'm lonely, and oh, I don't have help. But no, you do. But at some point, you need to take some steps on your own. And so this is part, like me even showing up here today, it's quiet. And at first I didn't know what to say, but then I was like, no, I want to show up as myself. So me on my own, and not feel like I'm holding on to anything that I can let go. It's like you get your wings, that you can fly and do your own thing and express yourself and figure it out in a way, and just be. And that's a really beautiful thing in itself as well. Just show up and be you. You can do it. It's a test, but there's not really a failing to it. It's just try. Just like when a little one learns to walk, well, they're gonna fall. That's okay, but maybe gentle support, you lift them back up. And so that's what you do for yourself. It's like maybe you stumble, you fall, and you feel like balling up again, and no, I can't do it. But then you uncurl again, and it's a moment to moment thing, and you get up again and you do it again. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you all so much for being here with me. Please like and subscribe. If there is anything that you would like me to talk about, then I would be happy to do that. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can always find more on my website, allworldshealth.com, on my Instagram at allworldshealth, and Facebook, All Worlds Health and Pediatrics. So lots of love to all of you. I always enjoy this time with you, and I look forward to it each and every week, Wednesdays, 11 a.m. EST. I'll see you next time. It's Dr. Arlene Dijamco, the MultiDimensional MD.